In this video, we shall learn about the Second Anglo Mysore War from 1780 to 84. So what happened that Tipu Sultan and Hyder Ali will make ally with the French, whereas the British allied with the Marathas and Nizam of Hyderabad. And there was violation of the Treaty of Madras, which was signed in the year 1769, because the British did not support Mysore during the conflict with the Marathas, despite their agreement. Now, what led to the Second Anglo-Mysore War is that Hyder Ali captured Arcot and defeated the British forces at Pullilur in the year 1780. And unfortunately, Hyder Ali would die in the year 1782. His son Tipu Sultan continued the fight. Now in the Battle of Bangalore in the year 1783, a major confrontation led to the heavy loss on both the sides, and the war ended with the Treaty of Bangalore. Treaty of Bangalore was done in the year 1784. Okay, restoring the territories and maintaining the status that existed. So what is the background here? Hyder Ali accused the British of breach of trust and not abiding by the Treaty of Madras. So Treaty of Madras was violated, which was signed in the year 1769. The Treaty of Madras signed after the First Anglo-Mysore War. Okay, that means both would assist in case of the external attacks. But the British failed to assist Mysore when the Maratha attacked, straining their relationship and creating conflicts. Okay, so then Britishers failed to help the Mysore when attacked by the Marathas in the year 1771. Furthermore, he found the French more helpful than the British. That means the French provided military aid to the Mysore. Okay, and strengthened the Mysore. This is how. So, the American War of Independence had pitted the French and the British against each other. So, these two European powers was against each other. And under these circumstances, Hyder Ali's friendship with the French was even more worrisome to the British. So this posed a threat against the British. The ally of the Mysore and the French had threatened the British. So the British tried to capture Mahe, which was considered the protection of the Hyder. So what happened? Mahe was a small port on the Malabar coast, controlled by the French. And it was strategically important because it was a gateway for French military supplies to the Mysore. Okay, that held the Hyder Ali. Now, British, concerned about the growing French-Mysore alliance, saw Mahe as a threat to their interest in expansion towards the southern India. So what they will do, British will capture Mahe. In 1779, during the ongoing war between the British and the France in Europe, the British launched an attack on Mahe to cut off French support to the Mysore. Now Hyder Ali, who considered Mahe under his protection, viewed this act of the Britishers as a direct provocation. And this escalated the conflicts, leading to Hyder Ali's retaliatory campaign against the British in the Carnatic region. Okay. And that is why Hyder Ali would capture territories including Arcot and defeated the British at the Battle of Pullilur in 1718. And this battle of Pullilur was one of the most humiliating defeats for the British in India. Now, course of war. Hyder formed an anti-British alliance with the Marathas and Nizam. He then invaded Carnatic, captured Arcot and defeated the English army under Colonel Balliol in 1781. Meanwhile, the British, led by Sir Arcot, isolated both the Marathas and the Nizam on Hyder's sides, but Hyder faced the British boldly, although he suffered a defeat at Porto Novo in November 1781. Now understand that how did the Hyder Ali prepare for the Second Anglo-Mysore War. Hyder Ali formed an anti-British alliance with the Marathas and the Nizam of Hyderabad, recognizing the threat posed by the British in southern India. This alliance aimed to counter British expansion to secure mutual interest in the region. So, Hyder Ali was a very visionary kind of person. He would made an alliance which is often termed as anti-British alliance with the Marathas and the Nizam of Hyderabad, recognizing the threat posed by the British in southern India. He would understand that the British were trying to expand towards the South India. So to counter that expansion of the British, Hyder Ali would form an anti-British alliance with the Marathas and the Nizam of Hyderabad. Now, what was the Hyder Ali's first move in the war? So, Hyder Ali launched an invasion of the Carnatic region. Hyder Ali would use a massive and a very well-equipped army to devastate the British territories, and he would capture Arcot, which is a vital strategic location of British, and this was a significant blow to the British control in the region. So now what happened to the Britisher in the Battle of Pollilur in 1780? Hyder Ali's forces decisively defeated, tactfully defeated the British army under Colonel Balliol. And this battle is remembered, that is the Battle of Pollilur, is remembered as one of the worst defeats of the British in India, because many British soldiers were captured and even killed. Now, how would the British retaliate after this? So the British regrouped under Sir Arcot, and Sir Arcot was an experienced military commander. Okay. So Sir Arcot, again, he would counter attack and manage to recapture some of the territories, but had to face stiff resistance from Mysore. Also, the French had long time allies with the Mysore, and they will provide military support and supplies to the Hyder Ali and later to the Tipu Sultan. Okay. And this made the conflict more intense between the British and the Mysore. And after the death of the Hyder Ali in 1782, there was a critical turning point. His son Tipu Sultan succeeded him and continued the war with determination. And in 1784, the war ended with the Treaty of Mangalore, which restored territories to both the sides and ensured to release each other's prisoners. And it was the time when the Indian power negotiated with the British on equal terms. Okay. This is how Second Anglo-Mysore War demonstrated the strength and the determination of the Mysore under the Hyder Ali and the Tipu Sultan. Now the Treaty of Mangalore. Hyder Ali died of cancer on December 7, 1782, and his son Tipu Sultan continued the war for a year without any positive result. And he was tired of inconclusive war from both the sides, and then both of them would sign the Treaty of Mangalore in March 1784, under which each side returned the territories taken from each other. So they would return their territories to each other, and also they would release the prisoners. Next is the Third Anglo-Mysore War. The background. A dispute arose between Tipu and the state of Travancore. Travancore had purchased Jalkottal and Cannanore in the Cochin state from the Dutch. As Cochin was feudatory of Tipu, he considered the act of Travancore as a violation of his sovereign rights. So, in April 1790, Tipu declared war against the Travancore. So, what were the causes of the Third Anglo-Mysore War? Was the Tipu Sultan's ambition, his exceptionist skills and expansionist policies alarmed the British. The British allied with Maratha and Nizam once again, and attack on Travancore in 1789, and Tipu Sultan was attacked in Travancore by the British and its ally. Okay. So what were the main events of the war? So Lord Cornwallis led a series of attacks on Mysore, and later in 1792 they would sign a treaty of Srirangapatnam, the capital of the Mysore, which was surrounded by the British, and he was forced to negotiate. The Tipu had to surrender half of his territory and had to pay huge war indemnity in the Treaty of Seringatpatnam. Now see what happened. So understand the fact that why did Tipu Sultan have a problem with the Travancore? So Travancore bought the Jalkottal and Cannanore from the Dutch, and these areas were the part of the Kochi, which was a small kingdom under Tipu's control. Now Tipu saw this as a violation of his sovereign rights and became very angry. Also, that Travancore built a defensive wall called the Nedum Kotta to protect its territory. Now Tipu believed that Travancore was preparing for the war and wanted to challenge his authority. Tipu would send a warning to the Travancore but didn't get a favorable response. Feeling very insulted, Tipu declared a war against the Travancore. So in the year 1789, Tipu Sultan attacked Nedum Kotta wall but faced resistance from the Travancore forces. This battle of Travancore caused heavy losses for both the sides, but Tipu managed to breach parts of the wall, and thus the conflict escalated, drawing British East India Company's attention into the dispute. And Travancore was already under British protection, so the British declared a war on Tipu for attacking their ally. This marked the beginning of the Third Anglo-Mysore War, which ran from 1790 to 92. Now this Third Anglo-Mysore War also shows that Tipu Sultan was very protective for his kingdom, and he did not tolerate the challenges to his authority. Travancore's alliance with the British shows how smaller kingdoms depended on the powerful allies to stay safe. So this was the scenario during those days. Now the course of the war. The British supported Travancore and attacked Tipu in 1790. Tipu defeated the British under the leadership of General Meadows, and in 1791 a large army led by Cornwallis marched to Srirangapatnam via Bangalore, but had no success, and eventually with the support of the Marathas and Nizam, the British attacked Srirangapatnam for the second time, and Tipu offered a serious resistance, but the circumstances were against him. As a result, he was forced to accept the Treaty of Srirangapatnam. And under this treaty of 1792, almost half the area of the Mysore was grabbed. Baramahal, Dindigul and Malabar went to the British, while the Marathas got the areas around the Tungabhadra and its tributaries, and the Nizam got the areas of the Krishna to Pennar. Apart from this, a war damage of 3 crore rupees was also taken from the Tipu, half of which was to be given immediately, while the rest was to be given in installment, for which Tipu's 2 sons were taken hostage by the British. So we have understood that the British had an ally with the Travancore, and that is why British attacked Tipu Sultan in 1790. Now the Britishers would send at first the General Meadows in 1790 to defeat Tipu Sultan. But later in 1791, a larger army was sent under Lord Cornwallis. So at first General Meadows would lead the British company, East India Company, but later on in 1791 a large army was sent under the Lord Cornwallis. Because the General Meadows had to face a very strong resistance by the Tipu Sultan, and thus the Tipu Sultan successfully defeated the British force led by the General Meadows. Okay. So Lord Cornwallis marched with a large army to Srirangapatnam, which was Tipu's capital. Okay. Through Bangalore, Lord Cornwallis would march with a large army to Srirangapatnam. And so despite all his effort, Cornwallis would fail to capture Srirangapatnam during his first attack. So what they will do, they will take support from the Marathas and the Nizam of Hyderabad, creating a strong alliance. And with their help, together, 3 of them, Cornwallis attacked Srirangapatnam for the second time in 1792, and this time the combined forces of British, Marathas and Nizam defeated Tipu Sultan's army. So Tipu was forced to sign the Treaty of Srirangapatnam in 1792. Now he would lose half of his kingdom. Tipu lost half of his kingdom. Also he had to pay a huge fine and gave 2 of his sons also as hostages to the British. The British showed their strength by forming alliance and defeating the powerful ruler like Tipu Sultan. Tipu's defeat weakened Mysore and made the British even stronger in India. So Tipu's half of the territory would be captured, and also the 2 son of the Tipu was taken as a hostage, and he had to pay a huge sum as fine, around 300 crore. Okay. Now the 4th Anglo Mysore War. So what is the background here? Tipu fulfilled all the conditions of the Treaty of Srirangapatnam and got his son released in 1796 when the Hindu ruler of the Wodeyar dynasty died, Tipu refused to place the Wodeyar's minor son on the throne and declared himself as Sultan. So Tipu also decided to avenge his humiliating defeat, and the term of the Treaty of Srirangpatnam, Tipu was accused of conspiring against the Nizam and the Maratha and the British and Wellesley, and was not satisfied with Tipu's explanation in this regard. Now understand what happened after the Treaty of Srirangpatnam in 1792. Tipu Sultan fulfilled all the treaty's conditions, including paying a large sum of fine, and in 1796 Tipu got his two sons, who were the hostage, released from the British after paying all his fine, 3 crore rupees. Okay. So in 1796, the Wodeyar dynasty, Hindu ruler of the Wodeyar dynasty also died. And when the Wodeyar king died, Tipu refused to crown the king's minor son. Wodeyar dynasty's king's minor son, he would deny and refuse to crown his minor son as king. So instead, Tipu declared himself as Sultan of Mysore, and this is how he would solidify his rule. See, Tipu was angry after the Treaty of Srirangpatnam because Tipu was humiliated by the loss of the land and huge fine and hostage taking of his son. So he wanted to take revenge of his defeat and wanted to reclaim his lost power. So what did Tipu do to prepare for the revenge? Tipu started rebuilding his army. He would strengthen his ties with the France, hoping for the help against the British. Okay. So he had a hope that French would help him to fight against the British, and this would lead to the Fourth Anglo Mysore War, because the Tipu wanted to re-challenge the British dominance again. Course of war. The war began on April 17, 1799 and ended with the fall of Srirangpatnam on 4th May 1799. Tipu was defeated first by the General Stout and then by General Harris. The Maratha and the Nizam again helped the British, and the Marathas were promised half of the Tipu's territory, and Nizam had already signed a subsidiary alliance. So Tipu sacrificed his life while fighting bravely, and the British selected a boy from the first Hindu royal family of the Mysore as Maharaja and also imposed the subsidiary alliance system on him. So when did the Fourth Anglo-Mysore War begin? The war started on April 17, 1799 and ended quickly with the fall of the Srirangpatnam on May 4th, 1799. Okay. So Tipu Sultan faced the British led by General Stuart and General Harris. So the British were supported by the Marathas and the Nizam. And for this, allies between the Maratha Nizam of Hyderabad and British, the Maratha were promised half of the Tipu's territory as reward for helping the British. And the Nizam of Hyderabad had already signed the subsidiary alliance. So all three made an alliance. And there were two generals, General Stuart and General Harris, who led the British army. Okay. And the allies. So what happened? General Stuart defeated Tipu in the early battle, and General Harris marched to Srirangpatnam with a large number of army that was supported by Maratha and the Nizam of Hyderabad. But instead all these, Tipu bravely defended his capital Srirangpatnam but was overwhelmed by the combined forces and Tipu Sultan was killed in the battle, marking the end of his rule and the Mysore Sultanate. So the war ended with the fall of Srirangpatnam on 4th May 1799. Now Mysore would come under the British control and the Wodeyar dynasty was reinstated by the British under the British protection, and Wodeyar dynasty's king's minor son was reinstalled as a king, and this Fourth Anglo Mysore War marked the end of any major resistance to the British rule in the southern India. So after the death of the Tipu Sultan, the Wodeyar dynasty was restored but under the British protection, and Tipu's death symbolized the end of the serious resistance to British rule in southern India. Now we shall learn about the Mysore after Tipu. Wellesley offered the... So what happened to the Mysore after the Tipu Sultan's death? The British took control of Mysore and began to restructure the state in their terms. After the war, the British offered Sunda and Harponelli district of Mysore to the Marathas. But the Maratha rejected this offer, and the Nizam was given the district of Gutti and Gurramkonda. While the British captured several regions including Kanara, Wayanad, Coimbatore, Dwara, Puram and Srirangpatnam. All these regions came under British control, and Sunda and Harponelli district of Mysore was given to the Maratha, but they rejected, whereas the Nizam took the control over the district Gutti and Gurramkonda of the Mysore. Okay. The remaining part was restored by the Wodeyar dynasty, which was the Hindu Wodeyar dynasty, under Krishna Raja Wodeyar. Krishna Raja Wodeyar accepted the subsidiary alliance with the British, which meant British troops were stationed in his kingdom for the protection, and the troops' expenses were taken care of by the king. Now, in 1831, what happened? That William Bentinck took control of Mysore due to misrule of the Wodeyar rulers. However, in 1881, like after 50 years after 1831, Lord Ripon restored the kingdom to the Wodeyar dynasty. So all these things happened to the Mysore after the Tipu. The next is estimate of Tipu Sultan. Now let us understand what are the estimates of the Tipu Sultan. So Tipu Sultan was born in November 1750 to Hyder Ali and Fatima, a well-educated man. He could converse freely in Arabic, Persian, then Kanari and Urdu. So he was very much fluent in all these languages, Arabic, Persian, Kanari and Urdu. Tipu was a great warrior. He was called as the Tiger of Mysore. He organized his army on the European model and took the help of the French officers. Like his father, Tipu also realized the importance of the naval forces. In 1796, he established the Admiralty Board. 3 docks were established at Mangalore, Wazdabad and Maulidabad. However, his plan did not come to fruition. Okay. Tipu was a patron of science and technology, and he is credited as the pioneer of rocket technology in India. He was also a pioneer in introducing sericulture in the Mysore state. Tipu was a great democratic leader and great diplomat. He held the French and established the Jacobin Club at Seringpatnam with the help of the France in 1797 and became its member. He planted the tree of independence in Srirangpatnam. Some historians have depicted Tipu as fanatical king. It is true that he crushed the Hindu Kurds and Nayars, but he also punished the Muslim Muplahs when they defied his authority. So what we can understand about the Tipu Sultan? Okay, Tipu was born in November 1750 to Hyder Ali and Fatima. And he was a well-educated person. He could speak and understand Arabic, Persian, Kannada and Urdu. Okay. He organized his army in European model, which means modern and very efficient. He took the help of French officers to train his soldier and strengthen his force. Just like his father, he was recognized and understand for having a strong naval forces. So he had recognized the importance of having a strong naval force. And in 1796, he established Naval Board. Okay, that means Admiralty Board to manage and improve the navy, because he had understood its importance, the naval force importance. And Tipu Sultan was an innovative leader, very modernized, and has modernized his army. He was recognized as a strong ruler, and he has understood the importance of strong navy. So Tipu was a skilled linguist also, and his effort to make his kingdom a powerful one, and he was a significant figure in resisting British colonization in southern part. Okay. So Tipu Sultan realized the importance of having strong navy to protect his kingdom, especially against the British, who had a powerful navy. And in 1796, Tipu will establish the Naval Board to manage and strengthen Mysore's naval force, and he will modernize his kingdom military capabilities. Now, some historians have called Tipu a fanatical king. Fanatical means very religious, highly religious, but his actions were complex because he had punished Hindus, okay, Kurd and the Nayars and the Muslim Muplahs whenever they opposed his authority. So he is giving equal punishment to the Hindu and the Muslims both. So it is true that Tipu had destroyed some temple when he conquered places in Kerala. However, he had also protected Hindus' temple in his own kingdom. So Tipu gave fund to repair the Srirangpatnam temple and helped to install the idol of goddess Sarda. So, and what was the Tipu's view about the palanquin, which is in Hindi called as palki? So he believed that it is only suitable for the women and the disabled. and for others. And palanquin, that is the palki, is a traditional carriage or seat which was carried by others. Okay. So he believed that it was unsuitable for anyone other than the women or the disabled. And this view of Tipu Sultan reflects his emphasis on his strength and self-reliance and more disciplined lifestyle. Now, how did the Tipu Sultan contribute to the economy? And Tipu Sultan held in capitalist development in a time when feudalism was common. He encouraged trade and industrial growth to improve the kingdom's economy. So what was the trade and commerce that Tipu expanded? Okay. Tipu expanded the trade like textile production, making the kingdom more prosperous. And he also introduced new technologies and supported the private enterprises as well. And thus he encouraged trade and industrial growth in his kingdom. Tipu Sultan was a complex ruler who represented many traditions. While he had strong religious and military beliefs, he also supported economic growth and religious protection in his kingdom. All this shows that he was a multifaceted ruler with mix of both strict and progressive policies. Now see what is written here. Though he is reported to have demolished temples in Kerala when he conquered places there, Tipu is also known to have protected Hindu temples within his kingdom. So although he had demolished some of the temples in the Kerala, he had also protected some Hindu temple in his own kingdom, and he sanctioned fund for the repair of the Srirangpatnam temple and installation of the idol of goddess Sarda in the Srirangpatnam temple. Now Tipu despised the use of palanquin and described it as suitable only for the women and the disabled. So this we have discussed, that how he did not like the use of the palki and he viewed it only suitable for women and the disabled. He also credited with the initiating capitalist development at the time when feudalism was prevalent. So he was Tipu Sultan was recalled as a capitalist development, and he, instead of maintaining the feudal model of the land power distribution, Tipu Sultan promoted trade and industry. He encouraged the growth of the commerce and established the state-run industries and worked on the economic reform and would stimulate more modern and capital economy. This is how he took initiative for the capitalist development in his kingdom. And Tipu was a person representing many traditions. So Tipu was a man of many traditions, and his rule reflects a blend of different influences, cultures, practices. So he was religious tolerance. When he was supporting Muslims, he showed religious tolerance towards the Hindus and other communities. He supported the repair of Hindu temples. He even funded the Hindu temple Srirangpatnam and installed the idol of Sarda. Okay. So all those things show that he was a man of many traditions. And he had his kingdom where the trade networks are encouraged and the industries such as textile production, sericulture were expanded, the iron work, the textile mills all contributed to the growth of the market economy and thus Tipu Sultan transformed the Mysore into a more capitalist economy. So this is all about we have learned about Tipu Sultan, and we will continue our session with the Anglo-Maratha struggle for supremacy and the rise of Marathas in the next session. Till then, goodbye and thank you.